This is Rebecca Brightbeller. Today's episode is titled 10 Predictions Made by The Simpsons That Came True. This article was written by Carrie Fishbane. The Simpsons just passed its 30th birthday this past December. It came on air when landlines and CD players were necessities in every household, and legwarmers were a viable fashion choice. The Simpsons has been a cultural landmark since before it was even its own show, when the first Simpsons shorts debuted on the Tracy Ullman Show starting in 1987. The shorts became such a phenomenon that they got their own half-hour-long show 2 years later. The Simpsons is the longest-running sitcom in TV history. Having been on for 3 decades, the writers are bound to get a few things right, but the amount of events that The Simpsons has predicted correctly makes me think that one of the requirements to get into the writer's room is a degree in futurism. It is straight up freaky how many predictions the show has gotten correct. Number 10. 2010's Tech in 1995. Season 6, Episode 19, Lisa's Wedding. In this episode, Lisa learns the future from a fortune teller at a Renaissance fair. A lot of Simpsons episodes take place in the future, and a couple predict future technology. But that's not too hard considering that many futuristic movies accurately predict future technology. Blade Runner predicted advancements in AI, and Back to the Future Part 2 predicted video calls. Although, I'm still upset that 2015 didn't bring us actual flying hoverboards. The Simpsons prediction is especially cool because it predicted 2 technologies that would be linked together. In this episode, Lisa's boyfriend Hugh proposes to her, and when she rejects, Hugh tells his watch he's going to call an audible.
Oh, blast! Go to plan B.
This both predicts voice recognition and smartwatches. 2 technologies that go together as voice recognition is a capability of most smartwatches. Number 9. FIFA Scandal. Season 25, Episode 16. You don't have to live like a referee. You'd think the clairvoyance of The Simpsons would die down after 2 decades. The writers of the show change, and, I don't know, maybe future-telling abilities die down with age? But nope. Even 25 years after the show's premiere, it was still going strong with predictions. In 2014, The Simpsons aired an episode in which Homer becomes a referee.
Simpson, I am the Executive Vice President of the World Football Federation.
Woo! The Executive VP of FIFA approaches Homer and asks him to become a symbol for FIFA because FIFA has been losing credibility due to bribery and other scandals.
In fact, I see that I myself am about to be arrested for corruption.
And what do you know? Later that year, 14 people in connection with FIFA were arrested on charges of fraud, racketeering, and money laundering.
We need a symbol of integrity like yourself.
Of course I am, but how do you know?
Number 8. U.S. wins gold in curling. Season 21, Episode 12, Boy Meets Curl. The U.S. is the ultimate underdog in curling, mostly because curling is such a gentlemanly sport, and most of the U.S.'s favorite sports are one step down from modern gladiator matches. If curling just added a bit more head trauma and cursing out everyone on the ice, the U.S. might just win the title. No one could have guessed the U.S. would win curling in the Olympics, except The Simpsons. In Boy Meets Curl, Marge and Homer join the U.S. Olympic curling team, and you can probably guess where this is going. Thanks to their participation, the U.S. wins the gold.
How's this for a date night?
And in 2018, history repeated The Simpsons as the US won gold for competitive ice sweeping.
The United States has won curling gold at the Olympics.
Granted, if Marge and Homer joined the team, they were going to win in Simpsons world. The Simpsons is a rather optimistic show. But it's not like the writers of The Simpsons had to choose curling for Marge and Homer to participate in. They could have chosen a much more American sport like ice hockey, in which losing teeth while playing is the name of the game. By the way, that's the official tagline for the sport of ice hockey.
Take that, Sweden! Tell me how my ice tastes!
Number 7. A Civilian Goes to Space. Season 5, Episode 13, Deep Space Homer. In 2013, the UK picked an average Joe to become an astronaut. It was an incredibly weird and borderline irresponsible decision, as it takes tons of physical, emotional, and academic training to go to space. No one could have predicted the UK making such a call to send an untrained individual into space. Except, well, you can probably guess who. Nearly 2 decades before this happened in England, The Simpsons premiered Deep Space Homer. After seeing that their space launches had dipped in the ratings when broadcast on TV, NASA decides to send an average Joe into space. And Homer Simpson is as average as they come. Maybe the writers of the show aren't perfect future tellers. A 25-year-old woman was the real winner of the contest in Britain. But cut them some slack. Having Yoda-like abilities isn't easy, and their crystal ball probably gets some radio interference working on the Fox lot. Number 6. Faulty Voter Boots. Season 20, Episode 4, Treehouse of Horror 19. In one of my favorite Treehouse of Horror cold opens of all time, Homer goes to vote for Obama, but there's an error with the voting booth and he keeps fighting with it because it picks McCain instead. You know our world's going to dark places and simultaneously becoming a parody of itself when it mimics a Treehouse of Horror episode. But alas, in 2012, the exact same thing happened in Pennsylvania in the subsequent presidential election between Romney and Obama. Well, at least the world hasn't become a giant killer board game and we haven't all discovered a secret twin in our closets. Yet. Dun dun dun! Number 5. Mutant Tomatoes. Season 11, Episode 5, E-I-E-I-Do.
Tastes like cigarette butts!
With all the experimentation and hybridization done with our agriculture, this one was bound to happen eventually, but oh well. It's a great episode, and it shows that The Simpsons are good satire for even future events. After Homer makes enemies with the wrong kind of guy, he and his family are forced to move out to the country where he acquires some plutonium and uses it to grow tobacco, a tomato-tobacco hybrid.
Maybe the tomato seeds crossbred with the tobacco seeds.
Oh, great. I got a field full of mutants.
Gimme, I want more.
This mimics both the horrors that Monsanto is totally not cooking up on their farms, and more specifically in 2013, when a bunch of plants hybridized because they were growing next to a power plant in Fukushima, Japan.
Eyes of the world are on the Fukushima Daiichi plant. But just what went wrong there?
I don't know which went up first, but either the owners of the plant were jerks for building a vat of radioactivity so close to a farm, or the farmer was an idiot for starting a farm so close to a nuclear power plant. A nuclear power plant is the second worst place to set up shop, next to right after a Native American burial ground. That's just science. Number 4. The Shard Building in London. Season 6, Episode 19, Lisa's Wedding. I know. I'm double dipping in Lisa's wedding. But this coincidence is too on point not to mention. The opening shot of this episode, we see Big Ben with a digital clock face, which in itself is a hilarious joke, which is bound to turn into a prediction come true at some point when kindergartens everywhere stop teaching how to read analog. But next to it is an oddly shaped spire which seems out of place in the London skyline. Then, in 2013, enter the Shard. The Shard is a very modern-looking, multi-purpose building in London that was constructed almost 2 decades after this episode aired. The weird-looking spire in Lisa's wedding looks almost identical to the top of the Shard. Why did the animators at The Simpsons include this detail? It was a completely unnecessary side detail and a joke. They're witches, I tell you! Number 3. How about a little bit of decency, David? Season 2, Episode 9, Itchy and Scratchy and Marge. Michelangelo's The Statue of David is one of the most famous sculptures in all the world. And one of the things it's most famous for is, well, flashing its privates to anyone who looks at it. Clearly Michelangelo was a perv. That fact is undeniable.
Well, there he is. Michelangelo's Dave.
What was not undeniable when the episode aired in 1990 was that Russians would vote over whether to cover up the statue in 2016. The Simpsons predicted that someone would try to cover it up in Itchy and Scratchy and Marge when Marge gets a little censorship happy after deciding the Itchy and Scratchy show was too violent.
Started a crusade against cartoon violence. I can protect my own children, but there are many others whose minds are being warped.
Then, almost 30 years later, we got the news that Russia was unhappy with David's nudity and were deciding whether to do something about it. Why Russia had authority over this matter is anyone's guess. The statue is in France, but I suppose the world's biggest prudes got the most say. The funniest part of the issue is that they weren't voting on whether to cover the statue up with a tarp. It's a priceless piece of art that deserves to be seen. They were voting on whether to literally dress David. This, of course, begs the question, what clothes were they planning to drape over the timeless statue? My vote's for a Hawaiian shirt and bell-bottoms.
What is SNUH?
SNA.
Oh.
It stands for Springfieldians for Nonviolence, Understanding, and Helping.
Number 2. Autocorrect. Season 6, Episode 8, Lisa on Ice. Autocorrect can either be the bane of your existence or your best friend at any given time. And The Simpsons saw it coming back in 1995. In Lisa on Ice, Dolph, a member of the Springfield Elementary bully trio, tells his Apple Newton to create a memo to beat up Martin. But his phone reads back to him, "Eat up Martha."
Hey Dolph, take a memo on your Newton. Beat up Martin. Bah!
It's rumored that high-up people at Apple saw this episode and got the idea to create autocorrect.
Autocorrect, therefore, then was a crucial part of making typing easier for us when we'd never used this new format of keyboard. It was something that helped us.
Unfortunately, their version is no better than the one in the show. But this is one example of how The Simpsons occasionally not only predicts, but influences the future. Number 1. Trump's Presidency. Season 11, Episode 17, Bart to the Future. Remember in 2016 when we all held our breath as we waited to hear the results of the most divisive election in U.S. history?
Donald Trump is the President of the United States.
Well, The Simpsons had the results back in 2000. This was an election that even pollsters had trouble predicting, but The Simpsons had it right 16 years before it happened. Trump was running for office as a Reform Party candidate when President Lisa Simpson announced that she had a big mess to clean up now that her predecessor was Trump. No one thought that could happen back then. This was before America itself became a reality TV show, and we figured that we should let a reality star run it. Trump was considered just a joke candidate back then, and no one thought a Trump presidency could happen. He ran for the Reform Party. I guarantee you, 90% of Americans didn't know about the Reform Party and thought it was a party you threw whilst renovating your house. There was no chance Trump could win back then, and yet The Simpsons warned us all a Trump presidency could happen.
Donald Trump? Not now, I'm on Twitter.
Thank you.